Hello, I want to talk about the Arsenal versus Chelsea game that was held on January 20th, 2013. Um, I think it was a pretty even game almost. Chelsea dominated the first half though, and that's what gave him the edge. I felt like Sanya was just not there. I kind of blame Mata's goal on Sanya being way too pushed up, and he left a huge gap that gave Mata that easy goal. The 6 minute goal or something like that it was. It was an embarrassing first half for Arsenal, especially their defense. Luckily that first half ended, or else it could have been much worse than the 2-0. However, Arsenal did come back second half. They looked much better. They were passing, they were communicating. Their defense looked a little bit better, and overall they played a better second half. But it just wasn't enough. And I don't blame Arsenal. I think they gave it their all. But if they want to remain a top four team, they have to make some changes. I'm looking at the lineups right now for the game, and Arsenal just doesn't have any good attack, to be honest. Um, the subs they have the only guy who can really score is Shavin, and they have Ramsey on there, and the rest of the people are kind of like, Jenkinson, Andre Santos, and Koscielny, all kind of defenders, and Frimpong, who's a center defensive mid. So really, all they have is Shavin and kind of Ramsey to as subs just to score, and I don't think that's enough, especially for a top four team who's in a Champions League. We look at Chelsea's lineup. They have Torres, as a striker, and if they need to sub him out and get a new striker, they have Ba, who's another amazing forward. Um, they have they also have Marco Marin, who's been doing okay, but if you compare the lineups, Chelsea's lineup just looks way stronger and scarier. They have Hazard, they have Mata, Lampard up in there, Ramirez, who's I think a great middle. If you watch the game, Diaby and Hokelin were the mids, holding down the mid, and I feel like Diaby shouldn't even be starting right now. I don't think he didn't look fully fit. I don't think he's fit really, but I think that was his only option. Um, Diaby is a good midfielder. I've seen him play, and he's fantastic. But it's come to the point where I feel like he's not reliable anymore. He's always injured. He's never really fully fit. And Arsenal needs to spend and buy a good center defensive mid now. Um, you know, Arsenal has been linked in the past with buying a Villa, um, and now recently Fellaini from Everton, who I think would be a fantastic buy for Arsenal. He's been doing great. He's in good form, and Fellaini's the guy they need. Someone strong in the midfielder, someone big who has a big presence, who attacks well and also defends well. Another thing they need to do is they need to buy a striker, and Wenger knows this already. You know, there's just Arsenal always tries to kind of rely on that one person, to do everything, you know, and when Fabregas was there, he was all his focus was kind of on him. Fabregas making the plays and doing everything, and then it switched to kind of Van Persie being fed, the goals and doing all the scoring and all that. And now that Van Persie's left, it's kind of on Walcott's back, and I think Walcott has stepped up a little bit. Judging from past seasons, I think performed he's performed well. He's grown. He looks stronger and confident. He's been scoring, but Arsenal just can't rely on Walcott to do the scoring. You know, they have Giroud and Podolski and Casola now. But Podolski's always being subbed out. He doesn't really show much on the pitch. Um, I think he's fine, but it's not enough. He's more of a winger kind of. He's not really a center striker. So and Giroud, I think he's had some good games, but like I said, he shouldn't. As a team like big as Arsenal, he should be more of a sub. I think that I don't think he should have the starting role right now. and Wenger knows that we need that Arsenal needs to buy. And someone who Arsenal has been linked with recently has been Cavani from Napoli. And I think that would be great if it happens. But I mean, Arsenal was also linked with Villa from Barcelona and all these other players, and it never really happens. Arsenal's not really a club that likes to spend much on players. They like more developing, youngsters and all that. But when you lose people like key players actually like Fabregas, Nasri, Van Persie, um, you need to replace with big players. You can't just lose all these players and expect it to perform the same. That's not gonna happen. I think Giroud and Podolski are good players, but it takes time for them to adapt. Get used to the Arsenal play style and all that. So let me know what you think by leaving a comment, and don't forget to like the video. Thanks for watching.